Denzel Washington isn't the guy who talks bad about people just to get attention. He made his whole career on being respected, staying normal, and only speaking up when it really matters. So when quiet talk started going around that he had called out Oprah Winfrey for having deep connections to Diddy, and not in a nice way, people stopped looking at their phones and paid attention. This wasn't just silly gossip. This was Denzel, the man who almost never gets involved in Hollywood drama. So if he's giving someone a look, something big must really be happening behind the scenes. Let's go back a bit, just a few months ago. Diddy was ruling the world, throwing huge parties, showing off yachts and fancy cars, and surrounded by a sparkly group of celebrities. But that all fell apart fast like a house of cards when tons of lawsuits hit him hard. The charges weren't your normal celebrity trouble. They were the kind that make you feel sick. Things like blackmail, drugging women, trafficking, even really bad claims involving kids. Police didn't wait. They raided his homes in many states, taking out boxes of proof and grabbing videos so awful that even the cops were said to be upset. Then suddenly, another name came into the talk: Oprah Winfrey. Yes, that Oprah, the media queen, the billionaire life coach for everyone, the woman who built an empire on kindness, strength, and personal growth. So when people heard she was connected to Diddy, maybe protecting him or hanging out in the same bad circles, it was like hearing your favorite and had a secret other life. This is where Denzel comes in. People say behind closed doors. He's been uneasy about Oprah for years. Not over small fights, but because of how she treats people when cameras aren't rolling, especially black women in the business, to outsiders. Oprah and Diddy might just seem like to famous people who sometimes see each other at award shows, but they weren't just casual friends. They go way back: photos, interviews, industry events. They've shared lots of laughs and red carpets. In fact, Diddy even went on Oprah's show, talking about his childhood and business deals while she smiled and agreed. It looked like they respected each other. But if what's coming out now is true, that friendship might have been built on more than just liking each other. And it doesn't end there. Oprah's friendships in Hollywood were always smart moves. There's a pattern. She teams up with people who have power, and often when they get into big trouble, she goes completely quiet. Take Harvey Weinstein. Oprah worked with him, said nice things about him, hugged him like family in public, even while whispers about his awful behavior spread. When the accusations finally blew up, Oprah gave a fuzzy speech about a big moment instead of naming names. Real, smooth, but not very believable. Then you've got Taraji P. Henson. She almost quit The Color Purple, a movie Oprah helped make, because she was paid way too little. Sound familiar? Monique said something very similar years ago. In both cases, these weren't women asking for free money, they were award-winning talents asking for respect. And guess who always seems to be in the middle of these pay difference stories? Oprah, the woman who publicly cheers for women's strength while supposedly paying black actresses badly behind the scenes. That's the double standard Denzel seems to be pointing out. On the surface, Oprah's the queen of understanding, but peel back a few layers and there's a different story. One of quiet gatekeeping, picking and choosing who to support, and smart team-ups. Now with Diddy facing some of the worst charges in recent celebrity history, people are starting to connect the dots between those team-ups. Denzel isn't just guessing, he's reportedly pointing out a pattern that might be a whole lot more dangerous than anyone thought. Monique's story isn't just some old Hollywood fight. It's the key proof people keep coming back to when they wonder about Oprah's real plans. See, back in 2008, Monique did an interview and talked about one of the worst parts of her life, being hurt by her brother. It was real, it was painful, and it was private. But what made it worse? She had already told Oprah about this pain privately. So imagine her shock when Oprah went ahead and invited not just her brother, but also her parents who caused her pain onto the Oprah Winfrey Show. Without warning her, that's not just insensitive, that's betrayal dressed up as caring. That move broke the dream for lots of people, because if someone who built their brand on kindness could use someone else's deepest hurt for TV ratings, what else could she be doing behind closed doors? Now fast forward, Diddy's name is everywhere, not just because of parties and music hits, but because of claims that sound like a scary movie. Secret rooms, weird ceremonies, piles of secret deals. Every week, a new layer comes off. But what really shocked people was when his old bodyguard, Gene Deal, started talking. He didn't just name Diddy, he brought Oprah into the conversation. He said Diddy was part of a group that included Oprah, Harvey Weinstein, and even Jeffrey Epstein. That's not a guest list you want your name on. Gene didn't use soft words. He said these people didn't just meet sometimes, they hung out together. Parties, business deals, and meetings that weren't always good. Honestly, once he said it out loud, a lot of things started making sense to people. The photos, the hugs, the public silence when things got dark. Suddenly, that excuse that Oprah was just being professional started feeling very weak. And it's not just bodyguards and old friends telling secrets. A long list of celebrities have had awkward times with Oprah's way of storytelling. Take Ludacris. For example, he went on her show in 2005 to talk up the Oscar-winning movie Crash. Instead of praising the work, Oprah switched to criticizing his song words, especially his use of the N-word. And I think she should have, but later Ludacris found out that all his answers defending his work were cut from the final show. They left in the criticism and took out his defense. It made him look passive and wrong when that wasn't the whole story. Then there's 50 Cent, who openly called her out for acting nice for a white crowd while pulling away from the black community. He even called her an Oreo, black on the outside, white on the inside, harsh. But lots of people agreed because while Oprah has always talked about healing and representation, some of her choices made people feel like she's more interested in pleasing powerful people than protecting her own. Ice Cube had a similar thing. Despite years of impact in music, movies, and even political talk, he was never given a chance by Oprah. Not for Barber Hop, not for Straight Outta Compton, not even for his big show Black White. When he finally asked why, the answer was clear: his views didn't fit the story she was telling. It's getting harder to say all this is just bad luck. Too many stories, too many patterns. Now with Denzel reportedly calling attention to it all, people are starting to look closer at Oprah's empire. Not just the shiny outside, but the shadows hiding underneath. Michael Jackson once welcomed Oprah Winfrey into Neverland, opening his gates and his private world for one of the most watched interviews ever. He trusted her, led her into a space most people never saw. For years, Oprah called that moment amazing, a sign of their friendship. But that all changed years after Michael's death. Oprah made a very public switch. She hosted a TV special featuring two men saying Michael hurt them, men who had earlier promised in court that nothing ever happened. It wasn't just a betrayal to his memory. It felt like she used the argument to make herself more famous. People question her reasons. Why make those voices loud now? Why stand so firmly on one side when the facts were still unclear? Critics didn't believe the "it's about awareness" argument. If it were truly about fairness, why didn't she go just as hard on Harvey Weinstein? Why didn't she publicly question the people she was pictured hugging on red carpets and working with behind the scenes? Then came the story of John of God. On her show, Oprah praised him as a miracle healer from Brazil. She said he was someone who used holy power to cure people of pain and hurt. But later the truth came out, and it was worse than anyone imagined. He wasn't a healer, he was a monster, accused of running a human trafficking ring, chaining up women, making them have babies, and selling those babies illegally. What did Oprah do once the headlines exploded? She vanished from the story, quietly erased every mention of him from her shows and websites. No sorry, no explanation, just wiped her hands clean and moved on. That pattern has become hard to ignore. Oprah gives her big support to someone. If they crash, she disappears. But when the moment helps her, she's all in. This wasn't the only time her choices made people wonder. Her fancy school for girls in South Africa made big news for its good goals. But when a staff member was arrested for hurting students in the dorms, Oprah stayed mostly quiet. The openness and public responsibility people expected never came. Again, the public started asking, is Oprah really the voice of fairness or just the boss of her own image? The questions only got louder when Seal, the Grammy-winning singer, posted an Instagram message aimed right at her. He hinted that Oprah had known about Weinstein's bad behavior for years but said nothing. The post blew up, and just 5 days later Seal was hit with a battery charge, one that was later dropped. But the timing was too perfect, and it fed rumors that Oprah had enough power to make problems go away, or people, even Cat Williams, never one to stay quiet, spoke up. He said Oprah played chess with reputations and wasn't above silencing voices when they got too loud or too honest. It painted a picture of a woman who, under the polished look and spiritual sayings, was running a tightly controlled kingdom, one where power wasn't just used, it was protected no matter what. Then there's Maui. When wildfires destroyed the island, Oprah's properties were fine while nearby homes burned. Instead of helping right away with her own money, she started a fundraiser asking regular people to give while she owned land worth hundreds of millions. It wasn't just how it looked that was bad, it was the message. Protect your brand even when other people are hurting. So when someone like Denzel Washington is reportedly questioning her honesty, people are finally listening. Maybe it's time. We all look past the surface. Maybe the truth about Oprah has been hiding where everyone can see it.